Imagine standing at the edge of the mighty Nile River, the lifeblood of a civilization that spanned thousands of years. This river, winding through the desert, nourished the land, gave birth to fertile fields, and made way for one of the most intriguing cultures in history, ancient Egypt. But have you ever wondered what it was like to walk the bustling streets of Thebes or toil in the shadow of the towering pyramids? What secrets did the daily life of an average Egyptian hold? In this video, we'll journey back to a time between 3100 BCE and 30 BCE, unraveling the mysteries and discovering what made daily life in ancient Egypt a chapter like no other in the history of humankind. The Nile River was central to ancient Egypt's existence. Stretching through the land, it provided the necessary water for agriculture. Its annual flooding created fertile land, allowing the Egyptians to cultivate crops, even in the harsh desert environment. Farming practices revolved around the seasonal inundations of the Nile. The river's overflow deposited mineral-rich silt on the fields, which prepared the ground for planting. Agriculture was mainly focused on essential crops like wheat, barley, flax, and papyrus, which formed the basis of the Egyptian diet and economy. Irrigation methods were employed to control the river's flow, directing water to various parts of the land that needed hydration. This organized approach allowed for systematic farming and helped ensure a consistent food supply. Livestock, including cattle, goats, pigs, and poultry, were raised for various purposes. These animals played a role in farming, providing meat for consumption and other resources like leather and wool. The interaction between the Nile River and the land defined the geography and agricultural practices in ancient Egypt. The river's seasonal patterns dictated the rhythms of planting and harvesting, shaping the daily life of those who depended on its waters. It was not just a geographical feature, but a fundamental aspect of existence. Just as the Nile River created distinct layers of fertile soil, ancient Egypt's society was marked by layers of complexity. The intricate social structure shaped the lives of those who resided along the river's banks. At the pinnacle stood the pharaoh, considered both a god and a monarch. The pharaoh's rule was absolute, and their decrees were carried out by a network of nobles and officials. These individuals managed the land, supervised construction projects, and oversaw legal matters, forming a critical link between the divine ruler and the earthly realm. Descending from the nobility, the skilled artisans and craftsmen played a vital role. They brought beauty to Egypt through their creations, fashioning jewelry, carving statues, and building monuments. Their work provided both function and aesthetic appeal, contributing to the cultural identity of the society. The foundation of this social pyramid was composed of peasants and slaves. They tilled the fields, tended the livestock, and labored on monumental projects. Their daily life was dictated by the seasons and the demands of those above them in the social hierarchy. The social structure in ancient Egypt was a reflection of the land itself, layered and multifaceted. Like the fertile soil deposited by the Nile's inundations, each layer had its unique function, supporting the whole and ensuring the continuity of a civilization that still fascinates us today. The intricate landscape of ancient Egypt's social fabric reveals the family unit as a cornerstone. Much like the fields cultivated along the Nile, families were carefully nurtured with specific roles and customs guiding daily life. Families were typically nuclear, consisting of parents and children. Extended family members often lived nearby, forming a close-knit community. Marriage was a significant event, arranged to forge alliances and strengthen social bonds. Contracts were drawn and dowries exchanged, emphasizing the practical aspects of these unions. Men primarily functioned as the heads of households, working outside the home in various professions. Women's roles, although centered around domestic responsibilities, were not confined to the home. They could own property, engage in trade, and even hold certain official roles. This duality in responsibilities created a balance within the household. Children were valued members of the family, their upbringing a blend of love and discipline. Education was reserved mainly for boys, particularly those from affluent families, who were taught reading, writing, and arithmetic. Family life in ancient Egypt was characterized by structure and continuity. Roles were defined yet flexible, mirroring the adaptable nature of a civilization that thrived in both simplicity and complexity. The echoes of these familial bonds resonate with the timeless rhythm of human connection. Now we have another question to consider. How did the ancient Egyptians view their world, and what role did their gods and rituals play in shaping daily life? The spiritual realm of ancient Egypt was an interwoven tapestry of beliefs and practices that resonated throughout the civilization. Major deities such as Ra, Isis, Osiris, and Horus were worshipped, each symbolizing different aspects of life and nature. These gods and goddesses were revered, their influence affecting everything from the seasons to the flow of the Nile. Temples were more than places of worship. They were centers of learning, healing, and administration. The priesthood held significant power, maintaining the connection between the earthly and divine realms. They conducted ceremonies, tended to the deities' statues, and provided guidance to the people. Rituals and festivals punctuated the Egyptian calendar. Celebrations like the Feast of Opé were communal gatherings, reinforcing societal bonds. The belief in an afterlife was profound, shaping practices like mummification and leading to the construction of grand tombs. The journey to the afterlife was seen as a continuation of earthly existence, filled with challenges and rewards. Ancient Egypt's religious practices were a vital aspect of the society, connecting the everyday to the divine, shaping perceptions, and reflecting a worldview that reaches beyond the sands of time. The dwellings of ancient Egypt were as varied as the landscape itself, reflecting the contrasts between urban and rural living, as well as the materials and designs used in construction. In bustling urban centers, houses were typically multi-storied and closely packed. Constructed from mud brick, wood, and reeds, these homes were defined by proximity to temples, markets, and administrative buildings. The wealthy enjoyed more spacious and elaborately designed urban residences. Contrastingly, rural areas featured simpler single-story dwellings spread out amidst the fields. These houses, made of readily available materials such as mud and straw, represented the practical needs of an agricultural lifestyle. Inside the homes, furnishings were often sparse but functional. Wooden furniture, pottery, and woven baskets were common, with wealthier households boasting more decorative items. The daily life within these spaces was influenced by social status and occupation, with family members engaged in various domestic tasks and crafts. From the structures they lived in to the very sustenance that fueled them, the ancient Egyptians' relationship with food was a flavorful affair, deeply intertwined with the land and culture. In ancient Egypt, food was not merely sustenance, but a reflection of the land's bounty and the culture's ingenuity. From the grains that grew along the Nile to the fish caught from its waters, the Egyptian diet was both simple and diverse. Typical meals consisted of staples like bread and beer, which held central roles in both daily consumption and religious rituals. Bread, made from emmer wheat or barley, was often flavored with ingredients like dates and herbs. Beer, brewed from fermented grain, was a common beverage enjoyed by all social classes. Cooking methods varied, with baking and boiling being prevalent. Ovens and simple clay pots were used, and dishes were often cooked with oils, fats, and spices, lending flavor and variety to meals. Meat, though more commonly consumed by the wealthy, was part of the diet, with poultry, beef, and mutton on the menu. Fish and other seafood were more accessible to the general population, and were frequently dried or salted to preserve them. The diet of ancient Egypt reflected the region's natural resources, cultural practices, and social hierarchies. From the essential bread and beer to the occasional feast of meat and fish, food played a multifaceted role in shaping life along the Nile. It served as nourishment, offering, and connection to the land that sustained a civilization with timeless flavors and traditions. The cultural richness of ancient Egypt was vividly expressed through its arts, writing, and entertainment. The hieroglyphic writing system, a blend of logograms and alphabetic elements, was more than a method of communication. It was an art form, adorning monuments and sacred texts. Artistic expressions were prevalent in various mediums such as sculptures, jewelry, and pottery, often depicting religious or royal themes. The artists adhered to strict conventions, creating works that were both symbolic and aesthetically pleasing. Music and dance were integral parts of celebrations and religious ceremonies. Instruments like harps, lyres, and flutes provided melodies, while dancers performed intricate routines. Sports and games were enjoyed by all ages, from board games like Senet to physical activities like wrestling and archery. These activities were not only recreational, but also reflected societal values and norms. Health and medicine in ancient Egypt were interwoven with a deep understanding of the human body, coupled with a blend of empirical knowledge and spiritual beliefs. Common ailments ranged from dental problems to gastrointestinal issues, often linked to the diet and environmental factors. Infectious diseases were prevalent, and injuries from labor and warfare were also treated. Medical practices involved both surgical procedures and natural remedies. Physicians, who often specialized in particular fields, utilized tools like knives and forceps alongside herbs, oils, and minerals to treat various conditions. Remedies were prescribed in detailed medical texts, encompassing both the physical treatment and accompanying prayers or spells. These practices were not isolated, but part of a holistic approach that viewed health as a balance between the body, mind, and the spiritual world. The legacy of ancient Egypt's health and medicine is profound, reflecting a society that sought to harmonize the physical and metaphysical realms, creating a system that resonates in echoes of wisdom and care. The daily life in ancient Egypt was a symphony of elements harmonizing geography, social structure, beliefs, and technology. The Nile River's flow, the pharaoh's rule, the spirituality embedded in rituals, and the artistry in architecture and writing all coalesced to shape an existence both unique and intricate. Egyptians lived a life that was deeply connected to their environment and values, creating a culture that still resonates with us today. If you enjoyed this exploration and wish to delve deeper into the history and culture of this fascinating civilization, please subscribe to the channel, as your support helps us bring more captivating content to life. Thank you.